For more on this, I'm joined now by the Australian's national editor, Dennis Shanahan. Well, we know they've got a shocking record when it comes to border protection, Dennis. You and I lived through the last time Labor was in power. Much of the front benches there now were the same people who stuffed it up royally. Chris Bowen, Tony Burke, Brendan O'Connor, all front benches now under this Prime Minister, all immigration ministers that bear the tally of 50,000 arrivals under their watch. Does the PM have the ticket for this? Because I played some comments he made in opposition, saying he couldn't do turnbacks himself, so he could never make it government policy. You go back to his 20s, I mean, he was always railing against things like offshore detention. Again, does he have the ticker?
Well, there is an essential problem for Labor here. There are a series of machinations that have been used to try and stop illegal boat arrivals. They've included temporary protection visas, offshore processing, mandatory detention, immigration detention on shore. And the Labor Party has historically opposed all of those, although under pressure, political pressure, it has, over the years, from the Keating and Hawke government through to the Rudd government, introduced and maintained all of those things that it said it couldn't support. The sort of things that Anthony Albanese was saying that he couldn't personally support. So there is a general problem for Labor on turning back boats and border security. And I think that the arrival of the third illegal boat arrivals in about 5 months is not a wave. It's not a huge, onslaught of people. But what it does is send that signal to the public that in line with record immigration, with a housing shortage and with an illegal immigration detention regime which is out of control, then all of this adds together and it makes it very difficult for Labor on immigration and border protection.
Keating, Hawke, Rudd were all Labor Prime Ministers of the right. I think the challenge here for the Prime Minister is, A, he's of the left. The party today is more captured by the left faction than ever before in its history. And he's also a man that, quite genuinely has been against many of these policies his entire political life. That's the challenge I think that Labor has, and also is not helped by either of the ministers, Claire O'Neill or Giles, in the portfolio. I mean, their handling of the foreign detainee issue, you raised that, appalling, but they inspire no confidence. And we know, particularly with Andrew Giles, he's weaker in all of this stuff than even the Prime Minister.
Well, the background, of course, for Giles was as a solicitor appearing for asylum seekers, and so that we know the sympathy for Labor is there, the reluctance. We already know that in the legislation that Giles and O'Neill have put forward, the so-called emergency legislation involves mandatory detention. It involves a mandatory sentence of at least 12 months for people who are out of immigration detention at the moment, who refuse to go back to their country if they are told to. So these are all these internal contradictions and conflicts within the Labor Party make it harder for them to project a tough and unified view to the public that they are doing what they can on border protection and immigration.